bad things. My Aunt Mildred and I live just outside the small and entirely frightful town of L-L-W-L-L. For myself, I usually pronounce it filth. I need hardly say it is in Wales. To live in filth is one thing. To live in the house of my aunt is even worse. On the accidental death of my parents, Aunt Mildred was made my sole guardian. Everything was to be hers for life, but out of it she was to make me a discretionary allowance. Should I leave this abominable and dreary place, she is under no moral obligation to assist me. But when she dies, everything comes to me. It was on the morning of the 2nd of July, 1932, the day after I returned from visiting my dear friend, Innes, in Shrewsbury, that I made my decision. My decision to murder her.
The Murder of My Aunt by Richard Hull, dramatised by John Peacock, with Marsha Warren as Aunt Mildred and Adam Godley as Edward.
I had finished reading La Grotte du Sphinx, a little gossamer trifle purchased in Paris, by lunchtime, and was sitting in the drawing-room with my Pekingese So-So, wondering what on earth to read in the afternoon, when... Oh, shh.
You haven't been stewing in the house all morning on a lovely day like this, have you, Edward?
La Joyeuse is out of petrol.
Walking is what I had in mind. It's perfectly gorgeous outside. Do your pasty face a lot of good if you got out a bit more. Don't shoot a few rooks.
It's far too hot, much too uncomfortable to go walking, even if one enjoyed that sort of thing.
Well, I may be sweating, really, but it's less of a waste of time than sprawling on a sofa reading some smutty French novel.
La Grotte du Sphinx is not in the least, as you put it, smutty.
Well, your nose is.
Besides, there's nothing here fit to read. Typical Welsh taste, nothing to stretch the mind.
You may have got rid of the accent, but your parents were Welsh and you were born a Welshman.
Some of us managed to outgrow the disadvantages with which we start.
And some of us never grow out of the nursery stage. I went to see Ivor Williams this morning about the 2 dogs I'm thinking of getting from him. Proper dogs, not yappers. Shh. When Davis was down by the Fronwood doing his second round, he told me there was a parcel of books from somewhere French, but that the label had come off. He thought they might be for you, knowing that you're the only person hereabouts who does read such things.
Whoever heard of a gummed label coming off in the post? My friends at La Bibliothèque Moderne are extremely careful.
No doubt. They don't want them back through the post in case while making inquiries the police read them.
Much more likely that Davis deliberately tore the label off. He hates carrying parcels 3 miles up a hill.
No, if you want your books, you'll have to walk down to the village and get them.
That I shall not do.
We'll see about that.
I'm not walking.
You have no petrol. Florrie, this is Miss Poole. Get me the post office, will you?
I am not
No,
walking.
you're not using my Morris. Ah, Mrs. Hughes? Yes. Master Edward is very worried about his books. Would you please keep them there until he picks them up personally? Thank you.
I'll get the garage to send some petrol up.
Florrie? Herbertson at the garage, dear?
The infantile stubbornness of her behaviour makes one wonder if my aunt is not slightly deranged. Somehow I did manage to get the car started. When my little Pomeranian met your little Pekingese, oh, come on! La Joyeuse, come on! But then had to abandon it halfway down the hill. 2 miles from the garage. Glad to hear you're so busy these days, Herbertson. I found I had a few drops of petrol after all. Just enough to get me within easy walking distance of you.
Oh, within easy walking distance, is it? I'll send a man to fill her up for you.
Oh, no, don't worry. My aunt tells me you're too busy to spare anyone. And it's not far. If you can fill this can, I'll take it along myself.
That's up to you, Master Edward.
Not even in filth can I be seen walking along the road with a man in blue overalls. Besides, La Joyeuse was not just around the corner.
I'm afraid you'll find these books a bit heavy to walk back with. Petrol can and all.
I'm not walking.
Oh, I understood you were. I didn't hear your car pull up.
It's just around the corner.
Oh, really? That's all right then, isn't it?
My resolve to face out my aunt's petty maliciousness drove me to superhuman endeavours. Abandoning the lane, I battered my way across fields, through fences and bulls, to reach the car. But with what pleasure I drove up to the house.
Well, I see you've got those wretched novels.
Easy. Kuza uza, as the Japanese say.
Then you walked down for them?
I left by car. I returned by car. I walked maybe a few yards.
Oh, just a few yards?
Oh, just a few yards, Aunt Mildred.
Edward, I don't like liars. I know the truth. I saw you. When I say you are going to walk into filth, then you are going to walk into filth.
I'm surprised you should demean yourself. But if you are prepared to sink to the depths of plotting with a village postmistress and a garage
I can
mechanic...
understand your poor little attempts to keep up your precious dignity, but when it comes to a selfish disregard for other people or the safety of animals, then I will speak.
Having, of course, been quite silent up until now. Considering that Williams's bulls attacked me this afternoon...
They were cows, Edward. I was watching from the top of the hill. And a pretty sight you looked as you hurled stones at those poor, defenceless animals and smashed down Mr. Williams's fence.
I'll have you...
Sweat pouring off you, bedraggled, scratched, your fat little body panting. I can see that you don't realise what a cad you made of yourself, so I'm going to bring it home to you in one of those places where you will feel it. The pocket. You are going to pay for the fence, for the vet bills, for everything.
To be sure, aunts of all kinds are damned bad things. The words with which I opened this diary, these few brief notes for posterity, are indeed true. I must admit that some very strange ideas are coming into my head. Such a mountain is rising in my mind from the molehill of fetching a parcel. I shall be much happier when my aunt is dead.
More marmalade, Edward. You know, dear, I think I shall call you Spot, because of that gathering on the side of your nose.
But how to kill her? That is the question. The car. It has to be my aunt's old Morris. But how can I cause an accident? Bryn Mawr crinkly biscuits. The one food I've known from my youth for which So-So will do anything. The scheme will be to place one of these on one side of the curve of Bryn Mawr Hill, whilst holding So-So on the opposite side, until I call out, "Paid for!" and let him free of his lead. My aunt, driving down the hill, will see So-So dash across the road, slam on the brakes, which I will have tampered with, swerve, and then plummet down into the dingle. Kuza! Uza! All I have to do is train So-So. So-So, So-So, who's a good boy? So-So, So-So, good boy. Crinkly? Who wants the crinkly? Where's the crinkly? Unfortunately, So-So was not a fast learner.
Paid for? I said paid for? Paid for? So-So! So-So!
Edward! Edward!
Yes, Aunt.
Going deaf, dear?
Rapidly, with that gong.
This biscuit tin is empty, dear.
Oh, I did eat one or two of those, I
One
think.
or two. 3/4 of a tinful. It's been going on for days. In future, I shall only put them out in small quantities. These rich biscuits are not good for you when you eat pounds at a time. No wonder you get boils.
Go on, So-So! Please, So-So! So-So! So-So? Paid for! Over there! Go on, So-So! Oh, So-So!
Nonetheless, days of endless toil finally paid off. And So-So's greed won through.
Paid for! Good boy, So-So! Good boy!
That evening, I cut through 8 of the 10 wires that formed the brake cable on my aunt's car. All I needed was 2 last crinkly biscuits.
One little maid is a bright yum, 2 little maids in attendance come.
No,
Mary?
Master Edward, I'm not too.
What on earth?
Not for you, not for anyone. I'd lost my job.
For me, Mary.
One's enough. That's all you're getting. Leave them alone, will you?
Mary,
I said no.
We've always been chums. You want to...
Mr. Edward, you are not.
Edward!
Aunt!
Shouldn't you be getting home, Mary?
Yes, Miss Mildred.
Edward, I will not have it.
What?
Mary is a very good girl besides being an excellent maid, and I have no unpleasantness for her under my roof in my kitchen.
What on earth are you talking
The
about?
way you are pestering her.
Another of your entire misunderstandings, of course. As you've seen fit to dole out the sweet biscuits in small and niggardly rations, I decided to arrange that Mary got some for me.
Ingenious, Edward. But I know perfectly well it's only the cover for your nastiness.
Aunt,
In the future, this behaviour will stop, or I shall take action. Meanwhile, in order that even the excuse cannot exist, I shall give orders to cook that no more crinkly biscuits are to be made. I will take these that are left down to the hospital tomorrow afternoon.
Hospital? Oh, yes, that committee you're on. When's that again?
I shall be leaving at 4 o'clock, as I do every week.
4 o'clock, you say?
Yes, Edward, 4 Why are you so interested all of a sudden in where I'm going?
I'm just wondering.
I suppose you want to know when I'm out of the way.
Aunt Mildred, you have a filthy mind.
It's your mind that's filthy, Edward.
Fortunately, Mary had succumbed. I had 2 biscuits hidden in my pocket. There's one crinkly for you now, So-So. And the last precious crinkly you shall have just after 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
I'm off now, Mary.
Very good, Miss Mildred.
Any moment now, So-So. Where's your crinkly, So-So? Crinkly. Here she comes. Crinkly, So-So. Where's your crinkly? Paid for, So-So. Go, So-So, go!
So never got his biscuit.
Florrie, quick, get me Dr. Spencer. Dr. Spencer, come at once, please. An accident to her car. My aunt, come quickly.
Oh, Mr. Edward, what has happened? Mary says she thought she heard a crash. We can't see where.
I really don't know, Cook. So ran across the road in front of the gate. I heard a yell and a series of crashes. Miss Pole's car's at the bottom of the dingle.
Oh, Master Edward, what have you got in that tea towel?
Oh, so.
So?
Dead.
Dead? But what about Miss Mildred?
I don't know, Cook. She must have been thrown out of the car. She's...
Oh, poor lady. You didn't never leave her. Oh, where is she? Oh, where is she? Let me go. Let me go to her.
Calm yourself. Dr. Spencer's just coming.
Then let's meet him on the road. It could save minutes for the precious lady. Run, Mr. Edward, run. Better get Mary. She's had lessons with the girl guides in Bangor.
I'll come too. You might want someone to help carry her.
Come on, Edward. Don't stand there doing nothing. Give her a hand, man. This blackthorn might just have saved her, but it's very hard getting her out of it.
Isn't she dead?
Damn you, girl. Keep quiet and control yourself, Cook. She's not dead. She's alive.
Oh, my God.
It's all right, Edward. Does you credit and all that, but she's certainly alive. And as far as I can see, nothing broken. Too early to say yet. Tell you when we get her back to the house.
The rest of the evening was torment. It is abundantly clear that my whole scheme has been a failure. Not only is my aunt alive, she's not even seriously hurt.
Oh, do put that creature down, Master Edward, and drink this nice cup of hot tea. Very strong. There's nothing like a nice cup of tea when you're feeling funny. Mary and I have both had one and we're feeling heaps better. You try it. The doctor's just leaving.
I'm sorry, but I can't bear to talk about it.
Poor lamb, I can well understand, and you seeing it too.
Not quite, Cook.
Well, it's all very good, Edward.
Not quite.
Marvellously and unbelievably good. She's regained consciousness, not damaged in the least. After a few days' rest and quiet, she'll be her normal self again, just as she was before.
Ah.
Hello? What's under this tea towel? Ah, poor little brute. You know, Edward, he really was the villain of the piece. Johnny nearly killed your aunt. I shouldn't leave him on the kitchen table, though. Bury him deep, he won't keep. Bury him well, or he'll smell.
Thank you for that, Doctor.
Good night, Edward.
My aunt's convalescence is incredibly rapid. Her car will shortly be replaced, but So-So cannot be replaced. So-So has to be avenged. I am more determined than ever. Chance and a blackthorn bush may have ruined my first plan. I shall think of a second. My aunt listened to my account of the accident in silence, lying in an armchair in that hideous drawing-room, an emerald green scarf around her shoulders clashing violently with the carpet.
And you mean to say, Edward, that you left me hanging like an overripe blackberry simply because you didn't like the idea of touching her corpse?
I think that's...
You're able to carry back the body of your toy dog and wrap it in a tea towel, but you can't touch your aunt.
My toy dog, as you call it.
Oh, yes, I heard how carefully So-So was looked after. It's rather a contrast, my dear. Then I suppose you had a drink, lit a cigarette, and finally decided you better ring up the doctor. Charming of you.
Really, you're most
I'm surprised
unfair.
you didn't wait to finish a smutty novel and solve a crossword puzzle as well. You gave the doctor the impression that you saw the car go over the top and then didn't see it again until you saw it reach the bottom. But you said to Cook that you saw me thrown out of the car.
No, Aunt Mildred. I told Cook that I thought you had been thrown out because I thought I saw you lying in the bush, but I didn't actually see you fall. No, I remember. Cook had got it wrong later, and I had to correct her.
I see, dear. It just clears up a little muddle.
Supposing I'd lifted you up the wrong way. I might have damaged something.
Well, it does stick in my mind that you were a little careless. However, we'll say no more about it. As much as I do not want to face the truth, I have a feeling that Edward has tried to murder me. I noticed several discrepancies in his account of my accident, and finally, today, with Herbertson at the garage, I saw the severed brake wires of my car, and I'm left in no doubt. Of course, I said nothing of my suspicions to Herbertson. This is, after all, a family matter. But what to do? I must be on my guard at all times. The honourable name of the Poles at Bryn Mawr must not be sullied.
I want to see your face in that silver, Mary. And then you better grate the horseradish.
We are having what my aunt regards as quite an important festivity tonight. That is to say, Dr. Spencer is coming to dinner. As a matter of fact, there is a subject on which I want to pick his brains, and I have decided to do it in public. Toujours l'audace. Done openly, no one will ever suspect my motives. From what I know of them, most insurance companies deserve to be robbed. A shocking lot of robbers themselves. They never pay up unless they can possibly help it.
Oh, don't be cynical, dear. My insurance company has paid over my car, like them.
And why not?
Horseradish, Edward?
No, thank you. But what always beats me is how they start these fires. Seems so clever of them, but I suppose it's simply if you know how.
Fires, dear?
All the same, I suppose none of us here knows how to do it.
I don't think it's very difficult. I think they do it with a clock.
A clock?
How?
Oh, you put a little bit of solder somewhere on the face, so that when the hands get to a certain hour, the connection's made.
A connection to what?
To a battery or to the electric light system. You just fit the two wires of your circuit into a plug in the wall.
A plug?
Then what starts the fire?
You don't make your circuit entirely of wire that carries the current properly. You break it with a bit of thin wire that will glow. Something that gets red hot.
But a glow in the fire?
No, but you put something on top of the thin wire which will catch if it's touched by anything hot.
Well, what? Just a bit of paper?
Some kind of celluloid substance. I'm not quite sure what. The Royal Engineers, I believe, use shredded gun cotton.
It's a horrible thing to talk about. We might be burnt in our beds the way you're both going on. Forewarned is forearmed. I've ordered 5 fire extinguishers.
There you are, Edward. These should do the trick.
This afternoon I visited Dr. Spencer, who prescribed me some Somnocube tablets, guaranteed to ensure sound sleep, to be taken whole or dissolved in liquid. Things are working out nicely. The great disadvantage of the plan I have in mind is that practically everything I possess will be destroyed. I have an insurance policy, but only for a small amount, and it'll not start to cover all the clothes I have. A wardrobe, I may say, chosen with great care and taste. Now, to rehearse the event, I take this wire and this wire, put them in the socket, and... Oh! Ooza! Ooza!
Edward, the lights have gone.
You're right, Aunt. None of them work. We'd better send Mary for Evans.
Why can't you go yourself?
I have things to do.
Like what?
I'm spending a few days with Innes, Aunt.
Innes? Oh, yes, that rather unpleasant friend of yours with the Bentley he can't drive. Well, as long as he doesn't come here.
I shall go tomorrow. I thought it would be a good opportunity to take some suits I want pressed and cleaned into Shrewsbury. Drop them on the way there, pick them up on the way back.
Yeah?
There's 5 parcels arrived for you, Miss Paul. I've had them put in your garage. They were too heavy for me.
Yes, thank you, dear. Oh, and Mary, send for Evans when you're Master Edward's fused all the lights.
Yes, Miss Pole.
All I did was turn on my bedroom light. Why that should be called fusing all the lights, I can't think. You don't even know that the lights are fused.
I'm sorry, Edward. I'm afraid I was rather jumping to conclusions.
Looks as if you're going for months, Master Edward, instead of a few days.
That's the last one.
Bring the rest of the breakfast things through, will you, Mary?
Here we are, then.
Put the coffee pot in the larder. There's enough left for Miss Paul's coffee tonight.
I'll do it. Out of sight, shielded by the open larder door, I poured a third of my Somna cubes into the half-empty coffee pot. I was just replacing the lid when...
Evans is waiting to load your car, Edward.
Thank you, Aunt Mildred. There's only my toilet case left.
I brought it down for you. I saw you'd forgotten it.
Oh, thank you. I must dash.
Yes, Edward. Have a good time.
Goodbye, Aunt Mildred.
Goodbye, dear. I watched him disappear down the drive. I have decided to let the fire happen. I shall wait up tonight quite safe with my 5 fire extinguishers. And I shan't, of course, drink that coffee. I did against it. I don't want to miss one moment of the sublime anticipation.
Here's your coffee. I'll be off now, Miss Mildred.
Good night, Mary dear.
In another 47 minutes, at 3 a.m. precisely, the fire will start. I wonder how the news will be conveyed to me. Entree?
There's an urgent message from your aunt's cook, sir. She said you were to come home, quick.
After you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, there's no denying you'll feel blue, you'll feel sad. Freedom, freedom, at last you're mine. You'll miss the bestest pal you never had.
I was preparing myself to see the house burnt to the ground. A few blackened walls, perhaps, at most a shell. Then, for a moment, my brain reeled. Suddenly, I was aware of the figure of my aunt standing straight in front of my car, looking exactly as she did in her lifetime. Her spirit had returned to force me into some driving error, leading me to destruction. That would be just like her. She would not have the last word. I set my teeth, put my foot on the accelerator, and drove straight at the ghost. The ghost threw itself flat on the ground.
Damn it! You stupid, reckless fool!
Oh, Auntie, you're alive?
Well, not much longer if you drive like that.
I didn't see you, Aunt Mildred. I was driving flat out. I'd had an urgent message from Cook to return home at once. I thought something awful might have happened to you.
Did you indeed? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Edward. And now I'm going to the village. I shall see you back at the house later.
I hope you enjoyed your walk.
Most of it, yes.
Why did Cook send that message for me to come back so urgently?
Haven't you been upstairs?
Obviously, I'm dressed, aren't I? I gather there was a fire in my room. But why bring me back for that?
The insurance. But then, as you took everything with you, you won't be putting in a claim, will you?
Surely that could have waited.
But could you, dear?
What happened, exactly?
The wardrobe caught fire, and then the bookcase. And then I put it out with a fire extinguisher.
I never knew we had a fire extinguisher.
Wasn't it lucky I just got some in? The wardrobe burnt tremendously quickly.
I shall see about the claim on the insurance company in the morning, I think.
Better not, Edward. There was nothing in the wardrobe, and the carpet is really mine, though I know you think it's yours. So, on the whole, better not claim, I think. Don't you?
I am, of course, not going to admit defeat.
Reading? The pursuit of knowledge and Edward Pole in conjunction? Gracious me, how unexpected. Surely that can teach you nothing, my dear Edward. It's the Encyclopaedia Britannica. And surely nothing British is of interest to you. You're far above that. Yes, that's right. Put it back on the shelf. Volume Plantarame. Well, I won't insist on knowing exactly what you were looking up. I fancy, Edward, that you would find it difficult to answer.
Aunt Mildred?
Now, I only want to say one thing. I shall not allow any more accidents, Edward.
Oh, Aunt, I'm so glad you're going to take some driving lessons.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly in any way, Edward, or I shall take action.
No, Aunt. I shan't. Good night. I don't intend to be silly. I mean to be completely successful, be it corrosive, irritant, systematic, or gaseous. Aconite poisoning. Ordinary wolfsbane or monk's hood and an alkaloid extracted from it, aconite, are perhaps the most deadly of known poisons. 1/16 of a grain of aconite has proved fatal to man. But here we have the real point. The root of aconite has been mistaken for that of horseradish.
Edward? No, thank you, Dr. Spencer.
Edward doesn't like horseradish, do you, dear?
No, Aunt. Just to change the subject, I've had pilfering at the hospital. Some lethal tablets from my office.
Really? Who on earth would do such a thing?
Must be one of the nurses. Half one tablet's enough to fell an ox.
An ox?
Piece of luck this, Edward. Getting you on your own. I want to speak to you away from your aunt.
Oh, yes.
I'm very anxious about Mildred. Just now, she's an absolute bundle of nerves.
My dear doctor, with all respect, what nonsense. I never knew anyone so calm and collected and so absolutely and invariably free from nerves as my aunt.
I don't talk nonsense, Edward. And you know it quite well, even though respect for your elders was a thing you never had.
Well, why you should put it down to me, I can't imagine. What you call nerves is just bad temper, because she can't always have her own way. It's a trick a lot of old people use, don't you think?
Remember all your aunt has done for you, and just think whether it isn't really up to you to relieve her of the financial worry of keeping you by going and earning your living somehow.
Sorry?
Surely you have enough brains to do something, instead of idling your time away here. Won't you think it over carefully?
Certainly I will. In fact, I've often thought of it. Idling away my time here, as you call it, is incredibly dull.
Yes, I can see that.
But there are difficulties, you know. One can't get any job that's worth having without training. And I'm not, you know, trained.
No.
I'll think it over very carefully, though, I promise you.
Good boy, Edward.
First, catch your aconite. Can I give you a hand, Aunt Mildred?
Oh, this is very sudden. I don't think I ever remember your offering to do anything in the garden before. Well, there's always plenty of weeding to be done if you really want to help.
Oh, rather. But, I don't know what are weeds, even. Come on, Aunt. Give me a botany lesson. Tell me what they all are.
Oh, very well.
Down the side of the border we strolled together, my aunt discoursing continuously on this and that flower, how that one had given her a great deal of trouble, but was most attractive in the early spring. Suddenly...
And that is an aconite, Edward.
Is it?
What did you think it was?
Oh, I thought it was a larkspur. It just shows how ignorant I am. But isn't an aconite poisonous?
Oh, only the root. And nobody would be such a fool as to dig it up and start eating it. That's why I keep it well away from the kitchen garden. Oh, shouldn't worry. Nobody will ever eat that by accident.
Time is dragging past wearily. Legs of interminable lamb, steak, chops, liver and bacon, and ducks and chickens and gammon and tripe and onions, and beef braised and beef boiled and beef minced with poached eggs, and beef turned into excellent Derby rounds, but we never have roast beef and horseradish sauce. And we talk.
I've heard from Dr. Spencer about your conversation with him. I'm delighted you're taking it so seriously.
Delighted, Aunt Mildred? And will you be so glad to see the back of me?
There's no need to put it so crudely, Edward, but even you will not pretend we are absolutely congenial, either of us to the other. So? What have you considered? Well, Edward, I'm waiting for an answer.
I've considered that I abhor your precious plots with that old fool Spencer.
Edward!
Trying to make me do something for which I am completely unsuited in order to be free of me and my keep. You've got rid of my dog, and now you want to get rid of me.
How dare you remind me of your lapdog?
Lapdog?
I'd have thought you would have tried to have forgotten that by now.
My so-so?
But then you're always rather like that yourself, Edward. A pathetic, poor-spirited, yapping little cur, always prepared to bite the hand that feeds you. And now, do well, a sponger on my bounty who hasn't even the decency to admit that you're sponging. You're fat, dear. You're pimply. Your hair is long, your face is puffy. Your clothes are that of a namby-pamby little pansy boy.
When you are yourself again, Aunt Mildred, we may perhaps continue the discussion. But at present, I refuse to listen to any more.
Perhaps so, Edward. You now know what I feel. But let this be quite clear. You will start work somewhere within a month. If not, you will give me a solemn promise to go where and when I send you. In the meantime, you will behave yourself. And now you may open the door for me.
She swept out, trying to look like Queen Elizabeth I, and, I need hardly say, failing abominably. For myself, I went out into the garden to cool my head.
Afternoon, Master Edwards.
Mary?
Why, whatever's the matter?
Horseradish?
From the kitchen garden. Oh, we've got a lovely sirloin for Sunday lunch.
Beef?
Yes, beautiful it is too.
My alarm clock is set for dawn. My precautions, including luggage packed and petrol in La Joyeuse, are all taken. Anyhow, one way or another, the great substitution will be made tomorrow morning, and by lunchtime the whole thing will be decided. I shall probably have to get my own tea.
I slept badly in my chair and was woken by the noise of Edward's alarm clock. I got up and quietly peered round the curtain and looked out on the wonderful countryside of my beautiful Welsh borders. And in front of me, on the green lawn, going to my carefully tended flower beds, driving away the white pigeons and frightening a water wagtail, was Edward, going to get not flowers, but roots. As he went, he gave a look up at my window. It was the look of a madman. I could wait no longer. For it was I who stole the tablets that would fell an ox from Dr. Spencer's surgery. I substituted them for Edward's somnocubes on the night of the fire and his visit to Inez, but alas, he's had no call to take them. But this time I would not fail. I went into his room and noticed his preparations for instant flight. I then slipped down to his garage and made the little arrangements to La Joyeuse that I had planned quickly and efficiently. I had barely concealed myself behind the scullery door when Edward, shoes in one hand and roots in the other, entered the kitchen. I had decided to catch him red-handed, mixing the aconite with the horseradish.
I see you found the aconite, Edward, dear.
Aunt!
The last of the male line of the once noble Poles of Bryn Mawr bolted. I put the aconite roots in the incinerator. Soon afterwards, I heard the door of his car being shut and the noise of it moving cautiously off down the drive. Rather sadly, I went to the window that overlooked the road in front of the house and the point where I had crashed into the dingle. As Edward reached there, I could see his hand go down to the brake lever or the gears, and the next second, down the steep slope of the dingle crashed Edward and his car, turning over and over as it went, and bursting into flames. One suitcase was thrown clear, but practically nothing else was left of Edward's car. Or Edward. Cusa Rosa, Edward.
Mary, I'll give you a prescription to take to the village. Some tranquilizers to help Miss Mildred sleep.
Now, we'll just get your pillows straight. Have you got those tablets, Mary?
Well, here we are, Cook. It said 3 on the bottle.
Come on now, Miss Mildred. Take these. They'll help you to sleep.
How can I sleep, oh, Edward?
Shh, now hush. Now do as Doctor says. 1, 2, 3. There we are.
Thank you, Cook.
Luckily, Mary didn't have to go to the village after all. Master Edward left in such a rush he didn't take his toiletries with him.
What, dear?
I found those somnocubes inside his toilet bag. Dr. Spencer said they were just what we needed.
Miss Mildred, are you all right?
In The Murder of My Aunt by Richard Hull, the part of Edward Pole was played by Adam Godley and Aunt Mildred by Marsha Warren. Dr. Spencer, Hugh Dixon, Mary, Rachel Atkins, Cook, Susan Jameson. The Murder of My Aunt was